Hi, this is the episode 20 Code Geass video. We're actually doing it and not talking about other nonsense, finally. Episode 20, what happened in episode 19, Island of the Gods?
Schneisel could be a quality leader.
Yep,
there were interesting conflicting ideologies between key characters like Suzaku and Kellen.
So I always find it
Lelouch.
interesting that rather than actually like get into the episode you just read, you've always just like read down your list instead of like last episode what happened, everyone was stranded on an island. How about that for a start?
Chris, this is like what I do in my relationship too. Anna will be like, how was your day? And I was like, I ate food, I drove to work. And she's like, okay, how about not facts? How about like, how did you feel? And I'm like, good, fine.
I'm learning.
I don't know.
I'm learning so many things about you in this whole project. This is so entertaining for me.
But this is just the thing. Like the more that we spend time with other people, we realize things about ourselves that we don't know that we do that we're doing. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't know that I just list off like lists. So there's
for 18 now 19 videos. That's what you've done. And there's been endlessly entertaining for me.
Okay, I'm gonna tangent for a second again too, because it gets into the relevancy of like going down a list. Yes, people were on an island, conflicting characters got to spend time together. That's my summary of the episode, not my notes.
Right. So that's the summary of the episode. Now you can hit the notes. Got it? We're doing a structure.
Okay. Well, the reason that to-do lists, like one of my top life languages, is a doer. Doers love to-do lists. They love bullet point lists. Half the crap that I write is to-do lists.
Oh, right. Like so much of, like I can't remember much of anything, which is why I have a calendar and a schedule and all of these things that I reference, because like anything I cannot have in this thing makes doing whatever I'm doing that much easier. So I completely get it.
But he doesn't have a smartphone.
No, heck no.
Interestingly enough.
No.
Life languages is this communications profile in how you filter communication, and there's 7 languages, and whatever your top 3 languages are is how you usually filter communication and how you want to receive communication. And each of those languages has a like a why, like if they're not, or like a feeding, like a fuel. If I'm not getting that, I will be, for lack of a word, in distress or triggered, where I'll get frustrated that my communication is not going through because this filter is not being met. And so I think the reason that one of my communications is lists of like, how was your day? I drove to work, I ate food. It's like, no, how do you feel today? Tell me the summary of the show. Schneisel could be a good leader. There were interesting conversations, like very lists.
Yeah.
I talk in lists.
So
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not sorry.
So this time, let's just extract from the list what stands out rather than just go down it. So like you mentioned, Schneisel might be a good leader. I think that's a really interesting topic, which we actually talked about a lot of stuff last time.
Yeah.
And
did you guys enjoy it? Did you enjoy last week's episode?
This is going to be,
I feel like we went. There was like a lull in the show, because there's like, okay, stuff happened. And then there's been like an uprising because the show's coming to a close and because there's climaxes and whatever.
A whole bunch of stuff happened. And actually, something we did mention was that Euphemia knew, she suspected that Zero was actually her brother, her long-lost brother Lelouch. And you'd said, well, actually, we both said, how did she, I asked like, well, how did she know that? And you said, yeah, they didn't really explain it. And actually, they sort of do when in that scene after that, but not really. Like they had a conversation there where they're sitting, where she was drying off her clothes and, covering herself in his cloak.
Cape.
Yeah, in his cape. And it mentions like, so when did you know? And she mentioned like he'd said it was just the way he was behaving back during the hotel jacking had made her think that. Like I think that could be a bit of a stretch, but they do mention that. So they did. So
she's an underdeveloped character because we don't have enough time with her.
Yeah, we spend a lot of the.
So she could be a lot more intelligent, which is what they're kind of alluding to, which is fine.
Yeah, we don't see things through her lens.
Weight and authority with her.
Yeah, our majority of our time is spent with Lelouch, and kind of in maybe you could say we even spend more time with Callan than we do Suzaku because she's just there in proximity with Lelouch. So we're not really spending the time with Callan, but just like through proximity and seeing her.
Well, and he isn't introduced until what, episode 5? 4? Suzaku? Like,
well, we see Lelouch in episode 1.
Well, yes.
And then he comes back in 2.
But I thought he didn't really like get a main stay until like episode 5 or 6.
Well, I guess not until after he was an episode or 2 after he was rescued from his execution. So yeah. But even then, we didn't get anything with Callan really directly until, you know, the episode completely dedicated to her at episode 9. But yeah, so in any case, yeah, we don't see a lot. We don't see the show and the story through Euphemia's perspective. So we're just kind of giving it on the side where they've definitely, like, she's the maybe a little naive, but also very compassionate and empathetic towards the suffering of others and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And so there's the kind of like, there's the fondness kind of there of the young growing into a leadership position, or kind of like supposed to be going into that, and having, you know, the overprotective sister that's always off, you know, murdering people in war and, you know, that sort of thing. And so there's that whole thing. So yeah, we don't see it through her perspective.
Right. Anything else before we watch episode 20?
I don't, just as far as I can remember, that was just wanted to touch on that. A lot happened. Got some mysticism of the Geassness.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Through.
More questions, less answers. I will say this. I hope this isn't like Lost. I stopped watching Lost because they didn't answer any questions. So they continued to ask more because mystery's a good driving force.
So no, like any good, so I don't know how much I want to say and don't want to say. Some things are answered, but also, like any good show, not everything.
Well, yeah. No, they wanted to come back for season 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. But with Lost, they answered like a little bit of character story.
And nothing else.
But nothing about the island. And then they just kept getting so grandiose that people are like, oh, there's polar bears. And then there's like a floating mist that never returns. You never find out about it. I stopped watching season 3, so I might have explained it. But
I speculate any of the big questions you will ever have will probably be answered.
Great.
And obviously, like any story, especially with this time format, there will be smaller ones that just kind of, you know, go to the wayside and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. So. Just play the episode.
Right. Last episode ended with Japanese ships coming in from China.
We hereby declare the resurrection of Japan as a lawful, independent, and sovereign nation!
Zero, it's our move. What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
Dance.
What would you do? You would dance?
When in doubt,
I mean, you're
dance it out.
You're trying to liberate Japan, and here comes this other thing coming in saying, hey, we're actually the real Japan.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna dance.
You're gonna pause and dance?
Yeah.
That makes literally no sense.
Well, yeah, because you need time to think. They're not under gunfire. They got a moment. Enough to dance.
I don't know if they mentioned, actually last episode too, that Yuffie had mentioned that when Lelouch asked, like, what happened to my mother's death, it's like, Yuffie didn't know.
Right,
but she'd mentioned in passing that Cornelia had always looked up to his mother and kind of, like, idolized her in some ways.
Oh, I thought she said that she researched it.
Oh, she did, yeah. She looked into her mother's death, she followed that up with, like, she always idolized your mother.
Oh, I didn't hear that part, but...
The battle for Kyushu.
Group was working in conjunction with a terrorist organization in Kyushu.
Kyushu is one of the southern islands, if I'm not mistaken. One of the big southern islands. I'm really bad at my geography.
How's Suzaku doing?
He says that he'll do whatever the mission demands.
I see.
And what about Prince Schneizel? Where is he?
In the Tokyo settlement. Got there after his run-in with Suzaku.
I've dishonored you. I'm not worthy to be your knight. Please.
Has knighthood become a burden for you? Something that troubles you?
No, I'm grateful for it.
Then why?
I killed my own father. I was never punished for it. I just lived on like nothing happened. And right now, I'm being protected again. While soldiers die and 11 suffer, I'm unscathed. A person like me doesn't deserve this.
You don't deserve it? Then I don't either. Prime Minister!
Yes, Yuffie. Something wrong?
Is there anything I can do to help? I'm the Sub-Viceroy of Area 11. I should be assisting you.
Thank you. Just your offer to help me is more than enough.
But I...
The Viceroy gave strict orders that you not be entangled in this matter, Princess.
She did?
After all our hard work getting ready, it looks like they're gonna cancel the school festival.
That's hardly a huge consideration since we're at war.
Did you say war?
They're using this government in exile as a smokescreen, but this is a war with the Chinese Federation.
Oh, I see.
Nina, what about the booth we were planning to borrow from the art museum?
I'm going there today.
Oh, booth. I thought you said booze.
I'd also like to drop into the science department.
Are you talking about that present of yours? Could you get a little work done?
Easy for you to say. This is work for 3 people. Suzaku's in the army, Colin's in the hospital, and that other fool's nowhere to be found.
That's right.
There's something really
She
weird
stumbled
about
across
Coach
the
lately.
page of her diary she tore out.
I was so shocked. I'm still confused about it. How can Lelouch be 0? I still haven't told anyone. I want to meet you first and ask you face to face. Did I really write that letter?
A figurehead. That's all I was from the start. I knew that, but I thought if I gave my best effort, maybe I could make some difference. Forgive me, Clovis. I met 0 face to face, but I didn't avenge your death. I have to think of some way to save Lelouch and Nonnally. But how? I don't have the kind of power that my sister has. I'm not like her or Schneisel. No matter where I go, I'm just a burden, and I act selfishly, though I don't mean to. I chose my knight against my sister's advice. And now he's resigned.
You need to get the document signed today, right? But a member of the royal family is viewing the art right now.
Huh? Which member is it?
Guess.
So you're saying...
0. Perhaps you'd better clarify what our overall mission is.
To make Tokyo an independent nation.
Independent?
A nation?
Are you serious?
You mean us? A country?
I thought so. He's really going all the way.
You think if you wait long enough someday, the right chance will finally come? Don't be naive! If we don't stand up and do it ourselves, that someday will never come!
It's a long time between now and never.
Princess Euphemia!
Secure the perimeter! Code Delta! We have a Code Delta! This is the front gate!
Sorry, I probably shouldn't laugh. That's just hilarious. Because, like, what'd you expect to happen?
Stop it! That girl is a personal friend of mine!
Incoming missiles! Launch point appears to be Fukuoka base. 1 minute, 5 seconds to impact!
Not bad. They're well prepared against air raids as well.
They're trying to shoot us down. Oh, that's cool.
Lancelot unit now launching.
Launch!
Wheels and railguns.
Got your. It's not a jetpack, but you got your.
Yeah. Float pack.
You got your float system.
An open channel?
This is Minister Sawasaki. Is that Prime Minister Kururugi's son in the pilot seat? I see. I didn't know he had a son like you.
Yuffie?
Schneisel, may I have access to a private communication line?
My energy filler!
Are you kidding? They blasted off the float?
The Avalon has to strike at the base.
No, the shield doesn't completely surround us. One direct hit will go down in flames.
You had better surrender, Suzaku.
I decline. If I used my father's name for this, I'd never forgive myself. This is between you and me.
Suzaku Kururugi!
Princess Euphemia!
Suzaku, the truth is you and I. That is...
Sorry, but right now...
You see...
Not a good time.
I hereby command you to love me!
Right!
Huh? What? What is it?
Sorry, but this is private.
And in return, I will love you forever!
Princess Euphemia!
Suzaku, I love your stubbornness and your kindness and your strength, your sad eyes, your clumsiness, and the way you have trouble with cats. I love everything about you. So please, don't hate yourself.
I see that I've made you even more worried than I did before. You really are. Everything you do is impulsive. When we first met, when you told me you were a princess, when you selected my school, when you made me a knight, always.
Yes, they were all sudden. That's because I suddenly realized.
But then, it's that spur-of-the-moment feeling that's opened so many doors for me. Thank you.
What are you doing? Stop him now!
Princess, can I make one final request?
Final?
If something happens to me, whatever it is, please don't blame yourself. Destroy all the records and erase every trace, so no one knows what happened to me. I don't want my friends to be sad. Just tell them I transferred schools or make up some story.
Suzaku, don't tell me you're...
Yes, the nightmare's out of energy. Oh, and please, say goodbye to Miss Cecile and Lloyd and to Prince Schneisel for me. I was stubborn all the way to the end.
Don't die, Suzaku! You've got to live!
What the? That's...
I see, so the famous White Nightmare is named Lancelot.
Oh right, they took a...
Yes, they stole the Gawain last episode.
Right. Even if he fails, Cornelia can move right in. Schneisel.
Sure, I'll point it out. There's 2 seats inside.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
Okay.
Once I realized they stole it, and she's not piloting her own.
But I wanted to be the one to perfect that system!
Looks like integrating the Geffian disturber has worked. But that float system is more advanced than mine, so my opponent is the Earl of Pudding, I guess. We were collaborating inadvertently. Oh, how distasteful.
Earl of Pudding?
Like the Earl of Sandwich.
Full meal.
An energy filler?
I'm going to take out the enemy command center. What will you do?
Sorry, Zero, but you're not going to get your wish. I'm going to hit them first, my way.
The terrorism in the Kyushu bloc, led by an anti-government group, was stopped by Princess Cornelia's sudden attack. Atsushi Sawasaki and 4 members of the former Japanese government were arrested. Over half the Chinese Federation troops were captured as well. In response to this incident, Chinese Federation leaders are asserting this was an unauthorized action by General Cao of the Liaodong district, and they are requesting all POWs be released in accordance with the Tibet Convention.
Warrant Officer Kururugi reporting for duty.
Welcome back home, Suzaku.
Thought they made him a major. Sorry, ruining the moment, I realized.
Moment ruined. Show ruined.
Suzaku, I finally understand my heart. It's not that I expect an ideal country or perfect justice or anything complicated like that. I just want to see people smiling, that's all. The smiles of the people I love now, and the people I loved before as well.
She's further along than most people, okay?
Help me? Will you be my knight?
It's just...
I will, Your Highness.
Normal emotional stuff doesn't get to me. So I'm laughing because I think it's funny.
Oh.
It's not a problem. Like, people are allowed to have their emotions. I just don't fully grasp it.
Because you're a heartless robot.
It's not the first time I've been accused of that.
Probably not the last time.
Probably not.
So here's I guess a big question to start this off. Sawasaki, was he right and just and honorable and noble in his choices and actions. Your government falls after being invaded. You flee to another country. You get fragments of that country's support to launch an attack back to reclaim your homeland.
Noble? I mean, Sun Tzu says it's better to, if I remember correctly, it's better to flee and fight another day than it is to, like, fight a battle that you know you're going to lose.
Well, like, Suzaku and Lelouch, or one of the two, probably Suzaku, I don't know if they both did, but said that you should have stayed and tried to, and should have tried to help that way.
But that's the naivete of, you know,
of a teenager.
The samurai mentality of fight till death on behalf of your principles, whereas
I mean, he's Sawasaki's a bureaucrat of some sort, you know.
Right. Well,
cabinet member.
Genghis Khan understood. I went through this book, The Making of the Modern World, the story of Genghis Khan, and he understood, like, there's no point fighting a losing battle.
Right.
Run. No. There's no dishonor in running from a battle that you cannot win.
I think even Toto said that in the episode where they rescued him. He said something to that effect.
Literally not a problem. So I don't see it as dishonorable.
Right.
What I see is stupidity of not having enough support before you make your move again.
Well, that's completely fair enough. And
war tactic wise.
Another reason why I was asking that was, I'm glad that what you said, because I pretty much agree with that. But one of the things I was wondering then about is then, like, seeing how, I think in some way this kind of makes a point of, like, what is it that Lelouch really wants? I mean, he's told the Black Knights that it's like, what we want is an independent Japan. And yet some of the ways that this episode played out, I feel, directly contradicts that too. Because, like, shoot, I'm trying to think. I guess I haven't fully worked it out, and so I'm stumbling through this, what my thoughts are. I guess because this could have been somebody that would have been a good ally, and obviously there was a lot of the talk about, like, oh, he's just going to be a puppet of the Chinese Federation. And yet, so there is that possibility of that being completely true because of the support, that his support was mainly the Chinese Federation and not Japanese
There's no
expatriates.
evidence.
Right.
It's unfounded.
Yeah.
It's a conjecture from another military power.
Right.
Okay.
So
yeah,
in some
maybe.
ways, this if they gained a foothold, which they could have done if he and Suzaku didn't, you know, step in, they could have gained a foothold. That would have brought in somebody else who had a valid claim to what Lelouch is kind of, you know, fronting as his goals of, you know, trying to liberate Japan. And so
what's your point?
I don't know. Thought I had more to say. Song's over. Thought I had something more to say.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. I guess I wanted to touch on that, and I thought something more would come from it than did.
It's kind of nice leading to, that was episode 20. We got 5 episodes left where Zero and Suzaku worked together. That was kind of fun.
And what I saw is, like, what this whole episode was, or whether it was or what it was attempting to be in some ways, that it was readdressing in a much direct way. This is an episode of Suzaku versus, you know, you have those different narratives of man versus wild, man versus man, man versus nature. This is man versus man's past. This is Suzaku versus his past is what this episode was.
Yeah, he's in the middle of he's in the middle of a battle. He gets a phone call from a princess who's in the middle of her own battle. He has resolved to do a thing, and then suddenly, in the midst of his battle, he has a wave of peace because of something else coming and encountering.
Yeah, well, two things, like the conversation with Euphemia, but then also when she says, you have to live, and then, like, the Geass that Lelouch did on him was, like, acting up again on him. He's like, I must live. What? So that kind of took on again.
Yeah, that's just more questions that don't lead anywhere. I won't go on a tangent about this fully.
Okay. So you will, but you'll rein it in a bit.
I'm going to just make a note. The Gurren? What's the one that the Indian woman made?
The one that Callan pilots?
Guylan?
The one Callan pilots?
The one that Zero and C2 were in.
She didn't make that one. That was Prince Schneisel and Bartley's collaboration based off of the research they got from Lloyd. And that's the Gwain.
Gwain. Oh, I thought she did because it had the same power as the...
She developed the float system that they were using on it, I think. No, she perfected the float system further.
Got it. Either way, so in episode 19, and you're probably going to leave the cut earlier in this, but Callan was on the outside of this vehicle.
Yeah, and there's 2 seats inside.
And there's 2 seats inside.
Oh yeah,
it just brings up
that further makes the last episode really hilarious to me.
Yeah,
because I knew that.
I like the intro of this episode where Zero's like, "Don't be naive," and it's like, okay.
Oh yeah, there's those other things though
Don't
too.
be
You're saying like you're just doing
right.
this for, where he was basically projecting onto Sawasaki his own personal motivations. You know, it's like you're just doing this for your own personal thing. It's like, yeah.
So Nina and Princess Yuffie. Not Yuffie. Nina's an idiot. Like, yes, there's a royal person in that vehicle. You run out in front of it. What do you think's gonna happen? Oh, don't worry. It's probably not a terrorist with a bomb strapped to their chest.
Like, try walking through the gate at Buckingham Palace. See what those guards do to you.
Excuse me,
or try running into
chase
an
after
embassy.
the queen.
Try running into an embassy.
Try and tackle her. So let's see what's gonna happen. Oh, I'm being attacked by a bunch of bodyguards. I'm a victim. She didn't say that. I'm putting words in her mouth.
Yeah,
but
of course. But yeah,
come on.
I have a comment about hate yourself ? And a lot of people hating themselves and teenage angst and all of that stuff. But I don't think there's much more to say on it other than
most people only focus on the negative in their lives. Most people believe that every thought that they have is their own. It's not. Most people believe what other people say about them negatively. Negative comments hold more weight in our minds than positive ones do.
Who was that philosopher that says people don't have ideas, ideas have people? Who was it that said? I don't remember.
I can look it up real quick. It was not you who ate the idea, but the idea that ate you.
I guess the reason why it came to mind was you were talking about, well, just like a lot of, I mean, in this context of people not liking themselves, and the way that this poor self-esteem being kind of brought in from external sources is a sort of thing where I kind of see a connection there. I don't think that's what the guy meant when he said that, but it made me think of it.
Well, yeah, we can go down this rabbit trail. I could talk about this for ages.
I know we could talk about it for ages, but I don't know if there's anything more profound to say than what may have already been alluded to.
If you spend all your time believing what people say about you, you'll never get anything done. So stop believing what people say about you. Boss up and move past your past. Let your past be your past. Move on. These seem like very large generalizations, but the world doesn't give a shit about you. So if you want to have a good life, you need to boss up and
love the people in your own life and take charge of yourself.
Love the single person in front of you, because everyone's fighting their own battle, as some of these internet memes say, which is true, which we see in this episode. But here's the thing. You don't have to have a bad day. It's a choice. Rock bottom's a choice. Having a good day is a choice. Being stressed is a choice. I'm sure I'm going to see some flack about this, but it really is. Like, if you can't change it, don't worry about it. No matter how bad it is. Like, if you can't change it, awesome. Sucks. Like, those are the cards. Use them. people have overcome worse. Like, there are genocides in some countries and people still figure out how to live. Some countries in World War II, I feel like the further in the past we go, those people had a much stronger character. So, like, have you ever read those stories where people in World War II, their cities were being bombed, and they're just like, hey, I'm going over to Sally's to have tea. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, bombs are going down, and they're like, okay, I'll be back at tonight, maybe. Mm-hmm. And literally they just like
well, the office has been bombed, but maybe I can fish out some of the paperwork and get some accounting done.
Yeah. From
the rubble.
Like, guys, we got it really good. We got it really good today. So there's really, like, gratitude is your greatest weapon.
And on that note, let's end on something a bit whimsical. Lloyd Asplin, the Earl of Pudding.
Episode 20. Done.
Oh my. What are we doing?
I don't know.